Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is SSgt Nichols. Thank you guys for joining today's podcast. I'm here with one of the infamous Marine Corps recruits by the name of Recruit Ruiz. Everybody has known him. If you know that you know, it has been over 23 years since the last time we saw each other. And today we get a chance to jump on. I was his senior drill instructor, and we're going to learn a little bit about him, who he is, where he's from, what he's been up to over the last 20 plus years. And yeah, we're going to do a deep dive. Ruiz, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jared Ruiz. I'm the infamous Recruit Ruiz from all the TikTok videos. And the one, unfortunately, that got me famous was the one of me wearing my pants backwards. I live in, currently living in Texas. I am a construction inspector. I'm still alive. I got 3 kids. And
so you're in Texas, you have 3 kids, and you work in the construction field. Is that correct?
yes.
So with that being said, I want to take us all the way back, and I want to talk about the first time that you ever thought about joining the military. I want you to tell us about that.
Well, that was my senior year in high school. I really had no aim at what I was going to do after I graduated high school. And one of my buddies during our lunch break asked me if I wanted to speak to someone. And I said, yeah, sure. And he took me in and we met the recruiter that he was talking to at the moment. And he introduced me to the recruiter, and they talked me into, the recruiter told me about the benefits and the good things about joining the Marine Corps. But and that's pretty much how it happened. I met my recruiter at a high school, and I always wanted to be a soldier when I was younger as a child, and when the recruiter offered me the chance, I took it.
So who was your buddy that introduced you to the recruiter? What's his name?
Funny story about him. He didn't go to boot. He talked me into joining him, and the recruiter talked me into going to boot. And when we went to the MEPS office to swear in, he didn't go, and he ended up backing out and not going. So I ended up going alone to boot.
So where is he at today? Is he still around?
Yeah, but I haven't talked to him since I graduated high school.
Okay. So in high school, one of your buddies was joining the Marine Corps or talking to a Marine Corps recruiter. He invited you to come talk to the recruiter as well. You end up signing up and joining the Marine Corps, and he never signed up nor joined the Marine Corps. Is that correct?
No, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. So Marine Corps recruit training. So you graduate high school. How soon after did you find yourself at Marine Corps boot camp?
A few months. I graduated high school in May of 2002, and I ended up going to boot in October of 2002. There was a few months lag there. I ended up getting a job, delivering beer for Miller Lite. I was an assistant who helped the driver deliver beer to the stores and stuff, and that's what I did pretty much the whole summer and the months leading up to me going to boot. But I was also preparing. I was PTing at home at my house. I was lifting weights and running. I was already when I was in high school. I say I played football, but I was on the sidelines. But I was already somewhat in shape from playing football, and I ran long distance track in high school.
Did you do the delay entry program at all? I mean, did you do a couple months of that?
No, sir.
So you basically signed up and weren't really involved with the delay entry program at all?
No, sir. I just basically they told me this is your shipping date. They told me what my shipping date was. I was supposed to leave a week sooner, but then paperwork got, if I remember correctly, the paperwork wasn't filed correctly, so I ended up leaving a week later than I was supposed to go to boot.
So let's talk about specifically. You join the military, you take the ASVAB, you have multiple options to pick your MOS. what MOS did you end up picking and why?
I was 3051. I was supply. I was a warehouse clerk. I was a supply, and it was either between that and a machine gunner. And I chose the MOS, the warehouse for supply, because I would have been stationed closer to where I was currently living at the moment.
Well, but so you ended up, you didn't go active duty, you went reserves.
Yes, sir. I was stationed at the Carswell, the Joint Reserve Base, Naval Base in Fort Worth.
But why did you choose reserves over active duty?
To be honest with you, I couldn't answer that right now, Sasquatch. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
You just felt like that was the best choice at the time for you. Go to boot camp, get your MOS done, and then join the fleet.
I did think about maybe if everything worked out well, maybe about going active, but at the time I signed up for the reserves, and that's what I ended up just doing.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to the reserve and the reserve life and how many years you end up doing. But let's talk about Marine Corps recruit training. Before you went to boot camp, were you aware of what you were really getting yourself into?
I had heard the stories. Funny thing is, I actually saw the movie Full Metal Jacket a night or two before I shipped off the boot. So I was like, oh shit. But
So 2 nights. So 2 nights before recruit training was pretty much the only thing you knew about, and by watching Full Metal Jacket.
well, I had heard the stories. I heard the Marine Corps training was one of the tougher ones to get through, and that it was going to wear down on me. And I had actually had a couple people saying, "You think you'll make it?" And I said, I'm the type of person that I try at everything I do. I bust my ass, try my hardest at everything I do. So I said, damn, yeah, I'm going to make it.
Okay. So let's talk about recruit training. Let's talk about when you arrived at recruit training the first day. Tell me what was going on in your mind.
I was nervous. I was really nervous. I didn't really know in my mind what to expect or what was going to happen actually and everything. And I was nervous, and I was thinking, is it going to be as bad as it was in the movie? Is it going to be as tough? And a little scared, because it was a big step in my life. It was I was putting my life in the hands of the Marine Corps essentially for the next several years of my life.
Yeah. So you end up arriving at recruit training, not knowing what really was going on, extremely nervous. I think that we all were when we showed up. Like for me, just to kind of give you some context, my brother was in the delay entry program for almost a year. And 2 weeks before he went to boot camp, his recruiter offered me $1,000 sign-up bonus if I go to boot camp with my brother. I guess, hindsight now, looking back almost 30 years later, next month, he was trying to make his quota, and get people into the Marine Corps. Me, $1,000. Look, I was excited to go. So 3 days into boot camp, my brother slipped a disc in his back, got kicked out of the military, and 30 years later, here I am. That's my story, right? Like, I'm very blessed and fortunate. I can look back and see those defining moments where just a small tweak in my life changed the trajectory of my life. Just like you had a friend of yours that interceded, sparked the idea of go and talk to the recruiter, and fast forward almost 23 years later, here we are having a conversation about Marine Corps recruit training. It's pretty crazy if you look at it that way, like how one small tweak in your life can change that trajectory.
Yeah.
So recruit training. I knew nothing about recruit training when I showed up to boot camp back in 1995, but I did know one thing. I'm going to shut my mouth, be as fast and as loud as I possibly can, and stay off the radar. That was my goal, right? Like when I saw drill instructors, there was no messing around. I had no intentions for them to ever know my name. You, on the other hand, have become one of the most well-known recruits. And looking back at Marine Corps boot camp, what was it like for you, recruit Ruiz?
Let me say, this is what I tell people when people ask me about boot. I'll give a more detailed answer, but my initial answer is I always say that boot was one of the best times of my life that I would never do again. I would it. I was like you when I went in. I was trying. My mind was I'm not going to try to stick. Well, unfortunately, I had to stick out because I'm not the tallest person in the world. So I already knew I was going to be sticking out more than a couple of other people. But my goal was, well, I'm already be sticking out more, so they're going to fuck with me more. So I'm going to try not to do other shit to get called out more beside my height. Unfortunately, like with situations wearing my pants backwards and amongst other little things here and there, that didn't work out as much as I planned.
How tall are you, Ruiz?
5'2".
5'2".
Yes.
And when was the first time? Can you remember the first time you got special attention from either receiving drill instructors or our platoon DIs? Tell me the first time, because let me tell you mine. I remember the first time I got in trouble with my DI. I was one of those recruits that speed, intensity, and volume, but I had no clue what was going on. And so they fired a squad leader because he couldn't do a left oblique. I'd never even heard of a left oblique. So they throw me up front as a squad leader and say, hey, Nichols, show them how to do a left oblique. Forward march. And I went right and I was supposed to go left. And let's just say that was the first time I got smoked by my drill instructor. Tell me about the first time for you.
It was you was with you, and we were marching to the chow hall, and I remember it clear as day too, still to this day. You had stopped the platoon to give us I forgot what you were talking to us about, but while in the middle of you talking, I reached up and I scratched my face, and you told Staff Sergeant Leafried to take me to the pit, essentially, and that was the first time I remember getting that special attention when I was in boot, and it still sticks in my mind.
So I was the first one to catch you to do something wrong, and DI Staff Sergeant Leafried smoked you.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That I can remember. Yeah, that I got personal attention just for me, not like as a whole group.
Yes. Yeah, I get it. Look, I will never forget the first time I got special attention. And I don't think anybody on here that served in the military, the first time you ever got special attention. For those that just tuning in, I'm with Recruit Ruiz, one of the recruits that was under my charge when I was a senior drill instructor at MCRD San Diego back in 2002. 23 years later, the first time I've seen him. We've been in conversations over the last 6 to 9 months talking about doing a podcast together and just talk about his Marine Corps experience. So shifting gears a little bit, did you find Marine Corps recruit training hard, easy, or a combination of both? And elaborate about whichever answer.
A combination of both, as in like because like I said recently, I played sports in high school. I ran a long distance track, and I played football. Well, sideline. I was on the sidelines with the football, but I did good on long distance track. I got like third place in the 2 mile, and I got fourth place in district in the 2 mile. So I was already kind of in shape. So some of the physical stuff wasn't like that bad. What got to me was what was hard for me was more of the mental. The mental was more of a mental mind fuck for me. Like just the mental aspect of it every day was what was hard for me. Don't get me wrong, some of the physical stuff was was difficult, but like just just running or doing push-ups and stuff like that, it was not as hard, but still it was more of a mental thing. Is when you have the drill instructors in your face yelling at you, it does tend to get a little harder no matter how many times you ran 3 miles and under a certain amount of time. When the drill instructors are in your face, it doesn't matter how much in shape you are, because mentally it screws with you.
So what do you think? So you were one of those recruits that always seemed to get attention, regardless if it's the lollipop kid, you're on Firewatch and you're reporting the platoon at PT and they're actually in the head. You seem to get a lot of attention. Why do you think that was?
Um, I stood out. I stood out, like I said, because of my height. I'm not the tallest person in the world, and then also sometimes whenever you're in your mind, when you're trying to get something done right, and you keep telling yourself in your mind that this is how it's going to needs to be done, this is how it needs to be done, and when the actual moment of truth comes up, you get nervous and you fuck it up, and then you're like, fuck, and you get fucked. It's like with the situation with the pants backwards, because my kids have asked me, like, Dad, why did you put your pants on backwards? Why do you not? And I'll be like, because when you're in boot, you have to do stuff in like less than 10 seconds that it would normally take a normal person minutes to do. And you
Right.
have the drill instructors raining down on you, and they're counting like 10, 9, 8, like they're counting down 10 seconds, but it's really like 4 or 5 seconds. And you're trying to get everything done as quick as possible. And you kind of just messed up and you fuck up like that. That's how the situation with the pant thing happened. They had the drill instructors yelling and telling us to hurry up and change. And then lo and behold, my pants were backwards and I got busted for it.
Was there a point? So in recruit training, every time we turn around, I hear the drill instructors, "Come here, Ruiz. What are you doing, Ruiz? Where are you going, Ruiz? What did you say, Ruiz?" Like constantly. Was there a moment where you realized, okay, I've kind of gotten past the hump where they want to break me, but it's more of accountability now, vice trying to crush you? Because there was a moment where us as DIs, we put pressure on people. We want them to mess up. We want to crack them. We want to break them so we can build them back up. But sometimes when we break people at their lowest level, was there any moment that you said to yourself, I don't think I can do this. I
The
need to
one
throw in.
time, um, the one moment where I felt like where I know I broke, and I felt like, what the fuck am I doing here? Was it was around Christmas time. We were up north, and parents, they like to send packages, stuff around for Christmas and stuff. And I remember it was closer to Christmas, and then my mom had sent me a package with just a bunch of pictures, like, of my family at the time. My family, celebrating the holidays and all that stuff. And that, to me, that was a moment where I broke, and I told myself, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I here? Why am I not at home for Christmas? Why am I doing this? That's what, and I tell everybody, that's what broke me. That was my breaking point in boot around Christmas time, when that happened, when we were up north.
Well, I do know that that was the week that we were either getting ready to go on the range or we're on the range, because you and I were spending New Year's Eve together. Got nothing better to do than hang out with Recruit Ruiz
Oh
on
yeah.
Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve.
Yo, I know you loved hanging out with me on New Year's, right?
But all right, so we're up north. You're one of the smallest recruits in the company. Let's talk about, so we talked about the challenges where the pressure was put on you as a recruit Luis, the pressure is put on you, but there comes a moment where do you realize that the DIs like you, or did you think that they hated you?
It was scuttle around the recruits, like we would talk, like do these guys actually hate us, or are they doing? I didn't realize that y'all were doing those jobs, or what y'all were supposed to be doing until graduation. That's when I realized that these guys are only doing their jobs. They don't really hate every single one of us, even though sometimes we think they do. But that was around graduation time when I realized these guys are human, just like us. They
Yeah,
got a job to do, and their job is to make us into Marines. They can't be nice to us, because if in a combat situation, we're supposed to react a certain way when if a situation arrives. We're supposed to be able to do stuff on the go, like because we could get ambushed, you could get surprised, you could get, and that's what y'all were meant. That's what y'all were doing. Y'all were supposed to make us handle stress.
exactly. So that comes with theatrics, that comes with pain, that comes with IT and incentive training, that comes with mind games, that goes with making other people pay for your mistakes. It's a combination of many different mind, and it's not mind games if you think about it. And so, like, here I am 30 years later from when I joined recruit training, February 13th, 1995. 30 years later, here's what I realized about the military. You get a paid internship to get in shape, to learn how to shoot a gun, to learn how to lead, to learn how to listen, to learn how to grow as a young man while you're getting paid in that process. If you go through that methodical process and you're coachable, you're teachable, you're willing to humble yourself, it can fast track your life in the process. And so the pressure that we put on recruits is not, yes, it is on one hand is to break them. When I say break, to humble them. Now that humility can come in many different formats, but to break them to the point where they're like, I'm not going to do that ever again. I'm going to listen to what I'm told to do, and I'm going to execute. That is the purpose of recruit training, right? To develop the discipline to the point where I say go, and you go without questioning orders and directives. Of course, that comes with many different, well, I wouldn't listen in this order. I wouldn't listen to that. It's instant willingness, obedience to orders. That's what recruit training's about. And there came a moment where me and the drill instructor is like, man, recruit Ruiz has no quit in him, no matter how much pressure we put on him. Did you ever feel like, man, the DIs, the drill instructors, myself and Martinez and Moranin and Leifried, like they would put pressure on you, but did you feel like, man, they take care of me?
Like take care of me, like in a good way, or they kept on yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to answer this.
I know they always mess with you. I mean,
yeah, they always did.
nonstop.
Even though Leifried and me were the same height. It was so funny. I'm sorry to cut you off there. As I remember, I would tell people about booting. I was like, there was this one drill instructor who was about my height, and with every recruit, he would have to jump on the foot lockers and get in their faces. And then when he got to me, I was the only one that he could get in my face without jumping on a foot locker.
Yeah, so drill instructor Staff Sergeant Leifried was definitely a short. I don't know if he was 5'2" or 5'3", but that gave me a flashback. My first drill instructor cycle in 2001, I had this recruit that was 6'7", right? In the very beginning, I would come up to him and I'm looking up and I'm trying to chew his butt up, right? And so he was so tall and his neck was like linky. I called him Giraffe, right? It's like, Giraffe, basically every time I step in front of you, you're going to squat down. So it was like this. So I would come, when I started yelling at him, he had to come down here to my face-to-face level. And so I could chew his butt. And when I walked away, he could stand back up.
That's funny.
Yeah. So he was 6'7", because in the beginning I would jump on the foot locker so I can yell in his ear. But then I realized I'm the drill instructor here. That's the recruit. Squat down when I come in front of you so I can make sure that you understand the words coming out of my mouth.
Luckily, none of y'all had to do that with me.
Well, I mean, look, we pretty much we're looking down except for Stash Sergeant Life. So let's talk about being up north, because this is where recruit training gets interesting for you. We get up north. You go to learning marksmanship 1 week, and then you go to the range for a week. You fail, but then you pass, and then we go to the field and come back from the field, and we got to run a PFT, and you end up failing the PFT. So, but before we get into the PFT and you end up getting dropped from my platoon, you had to go through all the hikes and humps and everything that we were doing. Being a 5'2" person, I'm only 5'8". So I remember in recruit training in 1995, I was in back the platoon, always having to run to catch up to the platoon. And no matter what, I was going to stay with the platoon because I like to stay out of trouble. Talk to me about what was your experience when it came to the hikes and the movements like that?
They were tough. They were tough. I'm not gonna lie. Carrying all that gear on my back and then carrying the rifle and everything, it was tough. And in my mind, I kept telling myself, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I can't drop out. I can't get dropped. I can't get dropped. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I don't want to be the last. I mean, I was already in the back because of my height, but I was like, I didn't want to fall out. My goal was never to fall out. It was always to keep on trying. Even though I had, for every one step most of the other recruits had to take, I had to take 2 or 3. But my goal was never to fall out of any of the humps, just to keep on going. It was more a mental thing for me. I was like, I can't get dropped. I can't fall out. I can't fall out. I got to keep going. I got to keep going.
And if I remember right, I don't think you ever fell out of a hump.
No, sir.
That's awesome. And like, because I remember vividly, there was moments where I would go back and it was other recruits. It wasn't you. It was recruits that you least expect to start falling out of the hump. So your ability to stay in the fight was really amazing. Before you joined the military, did you ever shoot a weapon?
No, sir.
So
no, actually, yes. When I was younger, I shot a couple of my uncle's rifles, but that was it. I wasn't really into it really after that.
Because on the rifle range, you failed, and then we went and while everybody left and everybody that went stayed back to shoot again to try to requal, you requalled. Why do you think that is? What happened?
I was nervous. I'll tell you right now, I was nervous, and my sight was just shaking all the time because I was so nervous as I didn't want to fail that my sight was always shaking. And I just didn't want to fail. It was my mentality, like me not wanting to fail and not wanting, so I started shaking. And I finally, right whenever it came the shit or get off the toilet,
yeah,
I said, I got to do this. I need to stop shaking. And I kind of forced myself to not shake as much so I could at least qualify, pass, and to get that was it. But before that, I was just constantly, it was nervousness.
Yeah.
I was scared to fail.
So the first time you fail, of course, if you fail and then you requal, you still get pizza box. But do you remember what you shot at all?
I got a pizza box. That's what I got, and I don't remember what my score was, to be honest. But I had a pizza box.
I've been out of Marine Corps now for 18 years, so the scores have changed. So I don't even know what expert or pizza box is, marksmanship, sharpshooter. I don't even know what the scores are.
Marksman. I got marksman. Yeah, it was the pizza box. That's what I got.
Yeah. All right. So let's fast forward. So you go through field week, and we go through. Did you get dropped before the Crucible or after the Crucible?
We were about to go on the Crucible when I got dropped.
So let's talk about that. let's talk about the PFT, because you said when we first started talking, in high school you ran track, so you were conditioned, you were in shape. Here we are in recruit training. You're doing everything to get through the hard stuff, but then you run the PFT and you fail the PFT. Was it the run? Was it the pull-ups? Was it the sit-ups?
It was the crunches.
The
That's
crunch.
always been my, even when I was in my best shape, crunches has always been my. I remember I ran my 3 mile. I was running my 3 mile between 19 and 20 around that time, 19 minutes, 19 to 20 minutes. And I was doing about 5 to 10 pull-ups, but the crunches, I was barely getting the 50, minimum 50 every time we did it prior to that, the pass. And then right then and there, just that one time, I don't know what happened, but I froze. It seems to me mentally, I froze mentally, and I couldn't push past that hump. And I was trying. It was not like I gave up. I was trying my hardest, and I remember the tears coming out of my eyes because I did not want to get dropped for nothing. And I was trying my hardest, but it just I couldn't get the 50 crunches to pass the PFT.
Yeah. And if I remember right, look, it's been a long time, 23 years. If I remember right, for rifle range, you get a second chance, but for the PFT, for the mid PFT, right, you do one in the beginning, the IST, before we go up north, and then right before we go to the Crucible, you do the PFT. You only ran it one time, and then we dropped you.
So yeah, up north, yes, sir. I believe,
Okay.
and I think yeah, they gave me. I remember when I failed it the first time, they gave me another shot to do it, and couldn't get the crunches. But that was it. That was the crunches was what I was killing it on the run, and I could do enough
Yeah.
pull-ups to pass. It was just still to this day, the crunches are still a nightmare to me when I work out.
Yeah. So I thought I remember, but I wasn't sure. I thought we gave you a second chance to do the crunches, but it wasn't. I don't think it was the same day, was it?
It was the same day, and I think it was the. I remember it was a drill instructor, Kern. I don't remember what rank he was, but he was the one that was all up in my grill. He was from another platoon, and he was all up in my grill when I was trying to do it the second time. And not literally face to face because you can't do the crunches, but he was all
Right.
up on me, and then I couldn't get him, and then I failed the PFT, the crunches that same day.
And then because I was looking back at some videos in preparation for our podcast today, and I was just going back and looking at some of the key videos. One of the ones where you were recorded calling home to your mom. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. It was actually my aunt that I was living with at the time, but yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
That
So
was
but when you made that phone call, you said mom.
well, she's like my mom, my aunt that I was living with at the time. She's like a second mom to me.
So you called your aunt, not your real mom.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That was who I was living with at the time.
That's it. I'm going to have to take him to the pit, everybody. He lied to me.
Yeah, I'm a liar.
So you end up getting dropped. So you make the phone call home and they send you back down south?
Yes, I went back. I forgot what it was called now. It's been like where they send the recruits that are about to get dropped.
Yeah, rehabilitation platoon or
yeah, I forgot what it was called. There was 2 groups in there. There were the ones that were going to get dropped for medical, or the ones that couldn't perform.
Yeah.
And they keep you in there. From what I heard, they keep you in there to give you a chance to at least to try to pass if you fail the PFT or you fail the rifle, they give you chances. It's not like they
so there's MRP. So there's MRP and then I think PCP.
It was PCP, yeah. It was PCP I got sent to.
I think the little nickname for it was pork chop platoon. But that is basically physical conditioning platoon.
When I got there, in my mind, I already had it in my mind that I was not going to stay there for a long time. I wasn't going to stay there I had in my mind more than 3 weeks. Like, not going to stay in there. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get back out and I'm going to graduate. I'm going to do whatever I can to get out of here to graduate. That was my mindset.
So in PCP, you had to pass the PFT before you can get out of PCP?
Yes, sir.
So how many weeks were you in the pork chop platoon before you actually took the PFT and got dropped to a company?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So when you're in PCP, what, and you know, because as a recruit, I never went. I know what DIs do, but if I remember right, they take you guys out and work you out almost every day, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the PCP, physical conditioning platoon, and what the purpose of that is for.
That is to get you in condition to get back out with a platoon to be able to pass, regardless if you're overweight, if you fail the PFT, if you fail a rifle range or something. Their goal is to get you to where you need to be, so that way when they put you with the platoon, you could accomplish all the tasks needed of you to graduate boot.
So you're there for 2 weeks. You're working out every day, and you're doing everything you possibly can to get past the PFT. How many crunches you end up doing to pass that PFT? Do you remember?
It's 50. I did the minimum.
So you basically, no matter how much you tried, you barely did it in the beginning.
I think I jacked it up when I got to my actual platoon that I graduated with. I think I jacked it up to about, I think it was 55 to 60 if I remember correctly, but that was it. That's as far as I took it.
Yeah. And then when it came to the run and the pull-ups, how many pull-ups were you doing? You remember?
I was doing about 5 to 10.
5 to 10.
5 to 10 pull-ups.
The minimum standard was 3.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then the run, you couldn't. You had to run 3 miles in under 30 minutes. I was getting it at about 19 to 20.
So you were great. So you were a good runner. You just everything else you struggle with.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I still run to this day. About 10 years ago, I did a half marathon. I've actually done 2 half marathons. I've done one in 2013 and 2014.
Okay. So tell me, whenever you got dropped to PCP, how many people from Charlie Company got dropped with you? Do you remember?
No, I'm not going to lie to you and say I remember. I don't remember how many people got dropped.
Okay. So there was nobody that stands out like, oh, we got dropped together. He was platoon 1142 and I was 41. You don't remember at all?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's talk about this. You're in PCP, you run the PFT, you pass the PFT. Tell me about the company you got dropped to.
I got dropped to Lima Company, platoon 11. Sorry, I was about to say 1141. 3149. It was Staff Sergeant Levette was my senior drill instructor. He's the only one I really remember the name of from that platoon.
So I think it would be more. I would be probably more nervous being dropped into a new platoon where nobody knows me in the middle of training because I failed at something. Talk to me about how.
Oh yeah, the drill instructors. When I got there, the drill instructors, the first thing they had me do was jump on the pull-up bars that are sitting outside of the barracks, and they said they didn't know what I failed. They thought I failed the pull-ups, so they had me jump on the pull-up bars and started having me do pull-ups. I'm over here doing the pull-ups, and they're shaking the bar, and they're yelling in my face and everything. And I do more than 3, and then they tell me to get off. And so yeah, they were all up in my ass about it as soon as I got there because I had failed the PFT.
So you said Lima Company, right?
Yes, sir. Platoon 3149.
Okay, so when you got back into training, you were going into field week or Crucible week?
I think I got back with the field week, and not too long after that, we did the Crucible.
Okay. And that you didn't have any more problems. So you had to retake the PFT when you got back up north, right?
Yes.
So you passed it when you got back up north, and then you go into regular training. Did you have any issues, field week or Crucible? Talk to me about those.
No. It was just my mentality was like not to not to fall out, not to not let my mind win, not let myself pass out, not let myself fall out, and it was tough. It was tough because having to wipe myself with baby wipes in the middle of the field and giving I think it was at the time 3 MREs only they were supposed to last me the whole week for the Crucible. Yeah, I had two of my MREs stolen the first night, so I had to survive essentially off one MRE the whole week.
Did you ever find out who stole your MREs?
No, they apparently somebody came and not just mine, but then I think it was another recruit got raided too, and so I ended up with just surviving on one MRE. That I think would say was one of the tougher things about the Crucible was I was basically starving and having to perform all this all these tasks like doing
Right.
the ropes and the humps and all that stuff and the I remember the Reaper. The Reaper I would say was hard. That was the one time where I was actually nervous that I might actually fall out because I actually did fall back a little bit and I had to I ran my little happy feet back up to catch up with the platoon. I remember I had a drill instructor pass me when I had fallen back a little bit to grab onto his pack because that's what they were doing with the recruits that were falling back. He asked me to grab onto his pack, and I said, "No, sir." And I said, "No, sir. This recruit will." I'm sorry, I've been out for a while, so I was gonna say I am, but this recruit is gonna make it up there by himself. And I did a little jog back up to the platoon, and hurt my that hurt my legs so much. I remember doing my little jog up the Reaper to catch up with everybody, so I wouldn't be the one that fell out. So
I remember. So I've done the Reaper. So I did 8 platoons as a drill instructor. I did it in DI school and I did it in recruit training. So I did the Reaper at least 10 times. That actual hike. But here's what people don't realize. Like when you're a drill instructor and you have to run up and down that mountain and get people up and down that mountain, it is absolutely brutal. To the point where when I was a green belt drill instructor, I was down to probably 135 pounds. I was skin and bones because that's how much energy you are exerting to run up and down that mountain. Maybe 145, maybe 145. So I don't want to over exaggerate, but to the point where people don't realize this, as a green belt drill instructor, running up and down and dragging people up that mountain is absolutely brutal.
I can imagine. I can imagine because not only do y'all have what y'all's own packs on y'all that y'all have to carry and then y'all have to be hauling up recruits too, holding on to your pack with their packs, the weight on their packs. I can only imagine how much that's a wear and tear on your body.
Yeah, it's you were the one that we gave a lot of attention to. Do you think that attention was warranted most of the time?
There was times I fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. But there was time I realized I knew it then, and I still to my this day I say is because of my height that I got because I already kind of figured not kind of figured, but I had in my mind was people would get more attention if they stood out, if they had something like if they were too tall or if they were too skinny, too short, or if they were just a fuck up in general, you were gonna get attention. And so I already in my mind knew I was like, I'm gonna be getting a lot of attention because I'm the shortest guy here.
You did
So
get a lot of attention. Was there any moment where you felt like, man, because you never came to me and said, hey, this recruit requests permission to speak to Senior Drill Instructor Stassar Nichols. So we never had this conversation. But I enjoyed the entertainment that you brought to the platoon.
I'm glad I entertained y'all.
Oh, you definitely entertained us. You kept us laughing behind closed doors. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I'm glad I did.
So, out of all the DIs, who messed with you the most?
It was a combination of Staff Sergeant Moranin and the Staff Sergeant Martinez, or Sergeant Martinez. He was sergeant at the time. It was
Yeah.
a combination of them two. It was usually they were kind of they would either double team me or one by themselves, but they would give me the love and a little bit of extra love in here and there.
So, incentive training, which is IT, when I was a recruit, I can remember maybe 3 times I got IT'd independently, right? I couldn't do the left oblique. I was up north for chow hall duty, a DI, like 3 times. How many times do you think you got IT besides the entire platoon?
I honestly quite a bit because I stood out. As when y'all would come and pick out people, regardless if I fucked up or not, I stood out because of my height, and I already knew in my mind. I was like, they're gonna pick me. They're gonna pick me unless somebody pissed them off or something else. I'm gonna be one of the ones picked every time, and I did. I remember quite a bit. I think one of the videos that I posted that you shared was me. I was getting IT'd in it. So
Yeah, I think that you got IT quite a bit. But looking back, do you think that the incentive training made you a better Marine?
yes, yes, it helps. It helps. It helps with the mental. It helps with you mentally, and then for some of the ones that are not as much as in condition shape physically, yes, it'll help you too. It helps you
Yeah.
get into better shape, but also mentally. And to me, it was mentally. It helped me mentally, I think, because I would I was already preparing for it, and I was already thinking, I'm gonna try my hardest, no matter what they do. I'm gonna come up there and bust my ass, no matter how hard it gets, and I got to do this. And they're preparing me for a real life situation. If I were to see combat, to where I could react to a situation if I had to, like that. That's
Yes.
intense.
So for everyone that's just tuning in, trying to figure out what I'm talking to Recruit Ruiz. He was one of my recruits back in 2020, 2002
Yes, sir.
at UCRD San Diego. So just so you guys know. So Ruiz, let's talk about, so you get dropped, you get picked back up, you graduate with Lima Company. Tell me about, were your parents were able to make it for your graduation?
Yes, my dad made it. I remember the day. I remember the day because the day before graduation, we have a day to where we could spend time with our family on the base. And I remember, I am. He had last I had communicated with him. He had told me he didn't know if he was gonna, if he could have make it. Because the situations and everything. And whenever. I remember I was just walking by myself, and I remember when I saw him, my dad from the other side of the yard. I remember running to him, and I basically jumped in my arms, started jumping in his arms, started crying. I was like so happy to see him. I'm all like,
Yeah.
that was one of the happiest moments of my life, to be honest. Seeing my dad, whenever showing for the first time in boot the day before graduation, and spending the day with him around the base and everything.
Did you know he was coming, or was it a
He
surprise?
had told me but he had said that he might not have been able to make it. And last I had talked to him. With boot, it's not like back in 2002, it's not like, there's cell phone. People had cell phones.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not like I could have gone to a payphone and, called him and say, hey, did you show up? I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, that made my day. It surprised me and made me so happy. And I'm tearing up a little bit remembering it, to be honest with you, because that was such a great moment. I remember.
Yeah. Is your pops still around?
Yes, my dad still, he's still around, but he lives in West Texas. I don't live out there anymore, but yes, my father is still around. So yeah.
That's great. And then, so here we are. You graduate recruit training. I'm assuming you get the 10 days of leave, go home for 10 days, and then you go to MCT and then to supply MOS school.
Yes, I went to MCT. I came home for 10 days, then I went to MCT for, I don't remember how long the duration of MCT was. But MCT, I would describe MCT kind of like boot light, because we still did some of the stuff we did in boot, but it wasn't as stressful. That's how I would describe MCT. And after MCT, I went to Jacksonville for MOS school for supply, 3051 warehouse clerk supply MOS. And I was there for a little while. I remember President Bush, who was the president at the time, when I was there at MOS school, came and spoke to the base. I remember they gathered everybody up one morning, and there was a whole field, and hundreds of freaking Marines in the field, and I could see off in the distance George Bush Jr. was in the podium. He gave us a speech.
You, did he,
Well,
did he say anything that you remember to this day, or was it just a general conversation?
it was just a general speech to us. I don't remember actually much that he said, and it's
So,
been
yeah, it's
been
been
over 20 years.
yeah, yeah. So, how long was your MOS school?
Oh, it was 2 weeks.
That's it?
Yes, I was only in Jacksonville for 2 weeks.
Wow, that's short. So after that, then you kick into the reserves, or you go
Yes,
home?
sir. I came to I came straight here, and I went to my unit with Mag 41 or the 4th Marine Air Wing, and pretty much I came on a Friday from MOS school. I flew from MOS school here, and then I went to the base on that Monday to get to meet everybody and kind of get in and basically being told what I was going to be doing and everything like that.
Yeah. So was from that point forward, how long were you in the reserves?
I did 6 years active reserve and 2 years inactive reserve. So I was essentially going to drill weekends for about 6 years, and then doing 2 weeks of in the summer of active. Pretty
Did you ever
much.
get a Did you ever get a chance to deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan or anything?
No, I never. The only place that we deployed to really anything was Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho. What was out there?
That was an army base. We went and did training up there in the army base up in Boise. It wasn't really a deployment. It was for our 2 weeks of active during the summer.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we just covered your entire from the recruiter's perspective to joining the military, talking about your struggles in the military, and now you're back home. You are a reservist. Was it hard? To me, I think it would be hard to be a reserve because I'm kind of like I'm the type of personality I'm all in or I'm out, one of the two. Like being a reservist, was it challenging for you because it's like a weekend warrior type of thing?
In a way, because you don't want to get you don't want to adapt you don't want to pick up any laziness, because you're not going every day. Like if you were active, you're you're in the civilian world for the most part, and you don't want to pick up any of that laziness or that, while you're out in the civilian world or anything. To me, that was one of the hardest things, because you didn't want to pick up anything. You didn't want to lose your discipline essentially, and so that way when you went to drill, you didn't want to act like you were a civilian. Essentially, you wanted to maintain that presence and discipline the whole time when you're not at drill. That was one of the hardest things for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine a lot of people that are in the reserves, they get so used to being in the civilian world where they got to dip their toe back into the military realm. I'm assuming a lot of them lost the motivation to be that disciplined person, right?
Yeah, and then like towards the end towards the end of the career, right before I got out, I kind of slipped into that a little bit, but I got out of that funk. You know, I got out of that funk, and I still carry myself right now to like in my regular civilian job and in my life. I carry myself with the same discipline, like if I were still in. Like, I'm never late to work. I hardly call in. I go in and I do my job. Like I said, I'm a construction inspector, so I gotta do inspections on my crews whenever they're any job that they do, and I have to make sure they do their job to standards and everything. And I have high standards, and I the military helped me out a lot with that, with how I handle myself at work and everything like that. It's helped me out in my personal life quite a bit.
Yeah. You know, I'm 48 right now. I'm getting ready to turn 49. And I've always looked very young, right? I'm about to be 49. I'm a grandpa. And I look back over my time. And when I was a young Marine, the drill instructors would say like comments like, "Do your parents know you here?" Because I looked like I was 12 years old. And I had to work extra harder. So the military taught me how to carry myself so people don't doubt your leadership. You had to work super hard as well, and you're still carrying that momentum and that training and that education into your workplace every day. Looking back for someone that's like in our position where we look young, we're small, we're short, we're underrated, what would you tell them for someone getting ready to join the military that may stand out? Too skinny, too big, too tall, too short? Uh, what would you tell them?
Never give up. No matter how hard they're riding your ass, no matter how tough you think the situation is, it's gonna get better. To always, no matter what, no matter how stressful the situation, especially in boot and in life and in your military career, everything, never give up. Always try your hardest, 100% at everything you do. Do not, because y'all saw that. I think you brought it up that y'all saw that despite you saw me struggling on a couple of things, but y'all always saw that I was always trying my hardest. I was trying 100%, and that's what I'm saying. Always try your hardest. Always try 100%, and just never give up. Essentially, and
Yeah.
that's my mentality. Never give up. Always go 100% at everything, or don't go at all. Essentially, so never quit. And if you think that they're fucking with you just because they're not, they're doing it, they're not just fucking with you because they're being dicks. They're doing it because they want to get the best out of you. That's why they're doing that.
One of the biggest, like when I joined the Marine Corps, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I just shut my mouth and just do whatever they tell you to do. But if I had to give some advice, having served in the military, in the Marine Corps, and served as a Marine Corps drill instructor, you got to remember this. If you are a recruit and I come in front of you as a drill instructor and I'm chewing your butt, what I'm looking for is you to break your discipline. You roll your eyes, you smirk your eyes, you break your discipline, you break the position of attention. I'm looking for ways to keep messing with you. But if you keep your head and eyeball straight to the front and you sound off, yes, sir, no, sir, aye, sir, the drill instructor is only going to be there for 15 to 45 seconds max, and they're going to move on to go mess with somebody that doesn't have the discipline. It's going to look around. It's going to laugh. It's going to basically, we're looking for people that are not willing to be disciplined, and we attack them. So the ones, if I come in front of you and I'm yelling and screaming at you and you roll your eyes, you talk back or do something stupid, now I'm going to spend more time, more attention with you. I'm going to take you to the quarter deck. I'm going to give you incentive training. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to try to break you even down further so that you never do that stupid thing again. And looking back at recruit training, what was the best thing and the worst thing about recruit training for you?
The best thing was the discipline. It helped, and that meant it helped me. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. My mentality, essentially, that to keep on. I know what I want to say. I just can't think of it. Apologize.
It's okay. Take your time.
To be able to handle the stressful situations better than I have, and be able to mentally strive in situations mentally. That's one of the best things I would say I got from boot was that it helped me mentally prepare for stressful situations and act upon them.
And for life, basically, on how to be successful in life. What was the worst thing about recruit training? Just being away from the family?
Being away from the family, yes. Like I said, when my mom sent me that box of with pictures around Christmas time, that was what broke me, and that being away from the family and missing them and everything, and that's what got me. And I'm not gonna lie too, when we were back in San Diego, laying in my rack and staring at them airplanes coming and going every night before I passed out, that didn't help either.
I tell you what, that's probably one of the biggest mind games about being a recruit in San Diego is seeing the airplanes land and take off and you're stuck like Chuck.
Yep. Every night I'd be in my rack laying there and I'd seen the lights of the planes coming and going. I was like, I should be on one of those planes.
So now you're in Texas. You've been in construction for a long time. Looking back over 20 plus years later, like for me, 30 years later, joining the military was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. How about yourself?
I would say so, yes. I would say it was. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. And I don't regret it one bit because a lot of the great things in my life that I have right now was because I joined. And my discipline at work, my work ethic, everything helped. The military helped build that more than I already had. And
great. It helped unlock potential you didn't know you had.
Yeah, yes, sir. And
it's for me too. You know what I mean? Like for me too, like 30, even though I became a DI, but I still had to go through that methodical process. And if you learn what you're supposed to learn through that methodical process, you can conquer things in your journey called life. And that is the purpose of serving in the military is number one is raise your right hand and support and defend the Constitution of the United States, both foreign and domestic. That oath is forever. Like, even though that we're civilians, there's 18.3 million veterans throughout the United States. There's 2.3 million serving on active duty in the reserves. There's over 20 million of us that are still living and breathing. We're supposed to learn, educate, get out, convert our military experience into something that we're passionate about, go out and make a difference in this journey called life. You have done it in the construction industry. I've done it in, I worked in the Marine Corps for 12 years. I worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs, processing disability claims for veterans for 10 years. I retired from federal service 22 years. I've been in the fitness industry for 5 years. I'm passionate about making an impact through the power of fitness. Are you passionate about being in the construction industry?
Yeah, yeah, I am. I want to see my projects that I work on, get done, and I've seen. I've been done inspections on warehouses from the ground up, essentially, from the bottom as soon as they dig the first hole up to when they have the shell of the building up. Um, I've seen stores, warehouses, and where I'm currently employed, I'm doing special projects. So I'm doing, like, right now, I'm doing inspections on highways and all over the Texas. I've been all over the Texas. I've done work on highways. I've actually did inspections on the border wall. I was actually on the border wall for a year doing that, and yeah, I've pretty much done it all in my field of inspections. And yeah, I take pride in seeing the buildings and places I've worked on built afterwards when they're done up and running. I take pride in that. There's a
And
sense of pride after that.
I'm assuming you didn't get involved with that until after you got back from recruit training. That's how you ended up in construction?
Essentially, yes, sir.
Okay.
I did I got a job helping delivering beer for a little bit, like I did before I
Right. Miller Lite.
before I boot, and I was doing that here. And then I essentially in 2006 I got a family friend got me a job where he was working with the construction inspections, and got me in. Essentially, I've been doing construction inspections for going on, how many years? 2006. Almost, I would say about 16 years. There was a small couple year gap after 2006 where I didn't do it for a while because of the economy, but
Yeah,
then I got back into it. And once I got back into it, I've been doing it pretty much since then.
that's great. Well, look, we're about an hour into our call, and I think that we can go ahead and wrap up, at least for this episode. Is there anything that you would like to share with anyone that's listening to this podcast? Anything that we didn't cover? Any save rounds? Anything that you would like to share?
Nah, not that I can think about at the moment. If anything else comes up again later, if anybody else has more questions, or if anybody, I was nervous as hell doing this. I'm not gonna lie. So maybe if we do a second round, maybe I won't be as nervous. And if anybody
Yeah,
has more questions they want answered or want to know a little bit more, we can give it a shot again. Maybe I won't be as nervous next time.
yeah. Look, I mean, that's part of life, right? It's the first time you do it. The second time you do it, third time, it gets easier and easier. For people that are looking to connect with Ruiz, you can find him on platforms under Recruit Ruiz, Ruiz, on TikTok, which is going away supposedly tonight. You're on Instagram. What other
Yes.
social media platforms are you on?
That's the only two. I got a couple of personal ones, but I don't really share those because I got pictures of my kids on that. But they want to reach out to me, do the Recruit Reese on Instagram. It's Recruit Reese 83, and then same thing on TikTok.
Yeah, and
If
of
you're
course
already
TikTok's
following,
going away. So what? Maybe you need to look at starting a Facebook, but neither here nor there. That you can find Recruit Ruiz on Instagram at a minimum.
and me and Staff Sergeant Nichols follow each other on Instagram and TikTok. So if you want look up there. If you're already following them, you'll find me easily like that.
All right, man. Look, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday to spend some time with us. I've heard the same question for 10 years. Where's Recruit Ruiz? Did he graduate recruit training? Did he make it? Did he not make it? Is he alive? Is he working? Is he still in the Corps? Is Recruit Ruiz the new Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps? Like, so
I've gotten
I've heard
asked that before. I've gotten asked if I was a sergeant major, and I went, no, I got out as a corporal. I didn't get out unfortunately, as a sergeant major.
yeah,
And I've actually gotten told that people have started rumors saying that I got killed in Iraq too. I'm all like, no, I'm still alive and kicking at the moment. So I was
still
like,
alive, still kicking. I think on this platform we can hold up to three people in the podcast. So maybe next time we can bring in one of the other DIs that were part of our group. Worst case scenario, just be me and you. Best case scenario, we can bring in a third person and enjoy the journey. Are you connected with any of the recruits from our platoon?
no, I have not. The one I was really wanting that I searched for on Instagram and Facebook that I got attached to when we were in recruit training was Campbell. I know he got fucked with a lot, and I remember he would always tell me that he at first, he didn't have a lot of confidence in himself. He always thought he was going to get dropped, but then I saw he actually graduated. I was so happy for him for that. And but me and him, we were bunkmates the whole time. Essentially, the whole time I was with Platoon 1141, we were pretty much in the same rack up down in San Diego and up north. So Campbell was the one I've been trying to find for the longest time because I just wanted to see how he was doing.
Yeah. So if anyone from Platoon 1141 is connected with Recruit Campbell, I don't know his first name. His first name to me was Recruit. I don't remember his first name, but if you are connected with him and you can get him in connection with Recruit Ruiz, Recruit Ruiz can be found on Instagram, Ruiz, Recruit Ruiz _83, because he was born in 83, right?
Yes. I'm about to be 42.
About to be 42. Yes, we're getting a little older. I always say not as lean, not as mean, but I will always be a United States Marine.
Yes,
well, with that being said, man, thank you for your service, Ruiz. Thank you for spending time with us. We are going to run this back in a month or so and do some more questions, comments, concerns. And I just appreciate you jumping on from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for allowing me to be a leader in your life and be a mentor. And here we are, we're still connected over 23 years later. So I appreciate you being part of my life.
I appreciate everything too. And I appreciate you putting them videos out too, because nobody would have known who I was. But no, I do appreciate your leadership, and I do appreciate everything you did for me when we were at boot, everything. And yes, I'm very thankful for everything.
Absolutely. Well, I like to say it like this: God bless, Semper Fi, and Hoorah.
Hoorah. Thank you.
Have a good night, okay?
Good night.